I think it's safe to say Borussia Dortmund are not enjoying a good run of form at the moment in real life under Nuri Sahin. They currently find themselves in 10th in the Bundesliga halfway through the season. And I recently watched them get absolutely destroyed, losing 4-2 to newly promoted first-time Bundesliga participants Holstein Kiel. However, it's a different story in game. We actually did all right over the second half of the 2024-25 season, finishing second only to Bayern Munich. We also made the semi-finals of the Champions League, losing only to the eventual winners Man City. Not only that, but we achieved a number of our custom objectives in Season 1, allowing us to make some moves here in Season 2 that we otherwise wouldn't have been able to make. And our relative success in Season 1 has also given us another DNA and trait point to work with. We've invested those in the development strand, which gives us another focused development plan. And unlock and dilly ding, dilly dong means we can now set those focused development plans for players aged 24 and up. If you're not familiar with Buzzko's CoreDNA system, make sure you check out the link in the description. Make sure you go back and check out episode 1 of this series. We have also completed the end of season fiscal report on CoreDNA, which gives us our new transfer budget for season 2. A little shy of 35 million euros. But with our transfer policy of selling at least one top player per season, that number is going to be bolstered somewhat. Now, because we completed our domestic custom objective, we don't technically need to sell a top player here in Season 2. However, consensus in the comments in Season 1 was that Emre Can and Daniel Marlin's time at Borussia Dortmund is running short. And of course, we have just seen Daniel Marlin join Aston Villa in real life. So we will be moving on from both Daniel Marlin and Emre Can heading into Season 2. The injury and inconsistency troubles that Niklas Söller has endured over the last couple of seasons made him a transfer candidate as well. He's going to be sticking around for at least one more season. So I think we'll be working with a budget somewhere in the 70 to 80 million euro range here in Season 2. And for that reason, expectations have to be high. And that will be reflected in our custom objectives for the 2025-26 campaign. Firstly, we'll be looking to match our achievement in the Bundesliga last year and finish in a Champions League place. If we do so, we can sign a player for 20 million or less, but we can forego processing that through CoreDNA. So we get a free signing, basically. However, if we fail to make the Champions League, we need to reduce our CoreDNA budget by 25%. In the Champions League itself, we need to again match our achievement from last season and reach the semi-final. If we do so, we can forego selling a top player in the next transfer window. If we fail to do so, we need to sell 2 instead. As we continue to build our youth academy, we'll be looking to play 5 under-21s in 10 or more games this year. If we do so, we can sign another 5-star youth scout in addition to the one that we signed for achieving our youth academy objective last season. But if we fail to do so, we need to release the 3 highest overall players in our academy. And of course, we do still have that long-term objective of winning the Bundesliga. If we do that here in Season 2, we can ignore the consequences of one failed objective and we can sign 2 first-team players rather than just the 1. Today's video is sponsored by Enigma Football, the UK's leading supplier of football shirt mystery boxes. Whether you're looking for a fun way to expand your own football shirt collection, or you're looking for a unique gift for the diehard football fan in your life, Enigma Football have got you covered. Their mystery boxes start at just $34.99, which is almost half the standard retail price, and you can be 100% sure that their shirts are authentic because they get them straight from the clubs and manufacturers themselves. And you can reduce that price even further by using code LAMBZY at the checkout for 10% off your first order. That code applies to any single football shirt mystery box, and it also applies to the first month of any mystery box subscription package, where you'll receive a fresh new shirt on your doorstep every single month. You can be sure you'll get a shirt that you like too. You can ask Enigma Football to send you a shirt from a specific league with a specific color or pattern, or to avoid certain teams. And if you still don't like what they send, you have 60 days to either return or exchange it. So head over to Enigma Football and place your order today. The link is in the description. And be sure to use code LAMBZY at the checkout for 10% off your first order. Shout out to Enigma Football for sponsoring the video and for hooking me up with a couple of shirts, including a Dortmund shirt for this series. Now let's get back to the video. So we will, of course, be looking to the transfer market shortly to give us the best possible chance of achieving those objectives. But the transfer market isn't the only way we can improve this summer. Thanks to the DNA and trait points that we've invested in the academy strand of the CoreDNA skill tree, we can promote 6 of our young prospects from our youth academy to the first team this year. And we do have a number of intriguing options, none more so than Charles Massey, the 16-year-old, 62 overall left winger, 83 to 89 potential, with a host of useful playstyles. So Charles Massey will be joining the side ahead of Season 2, as will, I think, Theo Proctor. I think it makes a lot of sense to add a goalkeeper to the first team as well. So Louis Waters will be promoted, as will Johannes Schaefer and Philip Winter. We are short in terms of depth at fullback, and Philip Winter in particular looks like a perfect role for that right wing-back position. And we have a couple of CDMs that we are transitioning to centre-back, but I think we do want to add some competition to the actual CDM position this year as well. So I think Jaden Everard looks to be the best candidate for that particular role. And our squad is also going to be bolstered by the return of a number of players who were out on loan last season, like Sumaila Koulibaly, like the youngsters David Wilhelmsen and Sadiq Adetola, like Sally Özcan and Julian Duranville, like Cole Campbell, the striker Daniel Buzzko, and, of course, Youssoufa Moukoko. I am very excited about Youssoufa Moukoko. He is the absolute definition of a wunderkind, and although he hasn't really been able to break into the Dortmund starting 11 just yet in real life, I think it could be his year here in game. And that's why our final custom objective here in Season 2 is to ensure that Moukoko finishes with more goals and assists than anybody else in the team. If he does so, we can put our faith in him going forward. If not, maybe it's Max Bayer who we need to trust a little more. So between that infusion of young talent and those loanees returning, we've gone from a dearth of depth within the squad to an abundance of depth at all positions. So that actually doesn't leave us with too many areas of the squad to improve here in Season 2, but there will be 2 specific players that we are looking to bring in. We'll be looking to bring in a younger left back, but very much in the Benzabaini role. By that, I mean a traditional fullback, maybe even a centre-back, left-back hybrid, since in our 4-2-3-1 system, the left back does tend to tuck in slightly. And then we'll also be looking for a young CDM to pair with Felix Mmecha going forward. This isn't a pressing issue immediately with the likes of Zabitzer, Pascal Gross, and the returning Sally Özcan. However, we do certainly need to be looking to the future at this position. Now, I've had a number of excellent suggestions for players that fit those roles in the comments, and left back Maximilian Mittelstadt has been a very, very popular suggestion. However, at 28 years of age, he is a little older than I would like. So I think we're going to be targeting Arsenal's Jakub Kiwior. Kiwior's been our favourite Arsenal, hasn't really been able to establish himself in the first team since he arrived in 2023. Does have 82 potential, so still some room to grow. We're going to put in a bid of 22 million on the offer sheet. The realistic signing calculator has determined it's realistic. However, Arsenal reject the bid, and that will be because 22 million doesn't meet their idea of Jakub Kiwior's valuation at this current time. Now, we do have a handful of other options, including Feyenoord's Hartman, who I think could be an excellent fit. His market value is 28 million euros, though. Beyond that, it's going to be somebody like a Vitaly Mikalenko, perhaps Victor Christensen from Leicester. So I think Jakub Kiwior is by far the best overall profile of player that we could get at this position. So we will loop back around next week and put in another bid. As for CDM, again, I think there is one standout candidate that meets all of our needs. And this time it's 23-year-old Eric Martel. Martel is currently stuck in Bundesliga 2, Cologne failing to gain promotion back to the top flight last season. And as such, we do have a 100% guaranteed chance of signing him. And for a fee of 18 million euros, Cologne were more than happy to pick up the phone. So like Merlin Rell, Martel will likely start his Dortmund career on the bench. However, between Mmecha, Martel and Rell, I think we have our midfield trio of the future. Martel's arrival does take us down to a little under 14.5 million euros left in the bank. However, Emre Can joined Arsenal for 18 million and Daniel Marlin joined Villarreal for 45. So with that extra money in the bank, we are going to loop back around and offer 28 million euros for Jakub Kiwior. And that feels like a lot, but it is his valuation on Transfermarkt. The fee is very much in keeping with the kind of prices that Borussia Dortmund tend to pay, and Kivior has a 46.2 million euro release clause in game, so perhaps it's fairly reasonable after all. And this time around, Arsenal do accept, as does Jakub Kivior, so we will be able to get the signing over the line after all. And Kivior certainly won't be a player that we are looking to start on the bench. He is technically a lower overall than LAMBZY at the moment. However, with comparative youth on his side, I could certainly see Kivior displacing LAMBZY as the starter this season. But with that being said, LAMBZY will still have his role to play. So overall, some excellent business this summer. We've managed to fill the 2 gaps in our squads that we've identified through the additions of Jakub Kivior and Eric Martel. And in addition to the departures of Emre Can and Daniel Marlin, Sebastian Aller joins our Bundesliga rivals and last season's overperformers, Union Berlin. In addition to that, we've sent Marcel Lotka and all 6 of the Youth Academy graduates out on loan this season. Theo Proctor joins Sheffield United in the Championship, and Johannes Schaefer actually joins my local club, Norwich City. So the squad is shaping up perfectly as we enter Season 2, where last season's standout defender Nico Schlotterbeck will be our captain going forward. After Emre Can's departure, Julian Brand will continue to be a vice-captain. I'm not sure how I didn't give Schlotterbeck Manager's Player of the Season last year, to be fair. We have the likes of Eric Martel on the bench, as well as Merlin Röhl, Julian de Ranville, all of whom will be looking to break into the first team this season. We have both Max Bayer and Yusufa Makoko on the bench, ready to run Garassi for that starting striker role up front. Nicholas Serler will be trying to win back his starting position at centre-back from Valdemar Anton. And of course, we do have all of those youngsters like Wilhelmsen, like Adetola, like Koulibaly, like Daniel Buzzko up front, looking to play a role this season as well. And with that, we are finally ready to get into today's games. Only 2 on the schedule. Our featured game will be our season opener away to Hertha Berlin, and we will quick sim our home opener against Bochum. I will be playing today's games in the wake of EA's gameplay refresh title update, and I will be playing today's games with a fresh set of sliders, which you can find in a video on the channel. So without further ado, let's head over to Signal Iduna Park and see if we can start the 2025 season as we mean to go on. So we need to do here today what Borussia Dortmund failed to do against Holstein Kiel just the other night in real life. And that's put Hertha Berlin to the sword. We need to dominate this game. We need to score goals. We need to prove that we are one of the teams to be feared in this division. We have a squad more than capable of doing exactly that. We vastly outmatch Hertha Berlin on paper. However, Dortmund vastly outmatched Holstein Kiel on paper the other night. That didn't stop them losing 4-2. It was a great game, to be fair. Dortmund almost completed the comeback. And as they mentioned on commentary a number of times, I believe the Dortmund squad was ailing from a number of not only injuries but illnesses as well. So how fit and raring they were to go in that game, I'm not sure. Jamie Gittens just lobs it in towards Julian Brandt, headed clear by Hertha Berlin. Jamie Gittens actually nods it down. However, cleared away. Jan Kuto finds Julian Brandt. And we do see already the way that Hertha Berlin are going to set up. Very deep, very compact. They're going to get men behind the ball. That should allow us to dominate possession at the very least. How many chances that allows us to create over the course of the 90 minutes, I'm not sure. Jamie Gittens once more. Lobbed in towards Guirassy, but headed clear. Can see that Berlin are going to defend very narrow as well. Not only deep, but narrow. They're going to protect their own penalty area, allow us room down the flanks. So Adeyemi and Jamie Gittens, as Jakub Kiwior puts in his first good challenge of his Dortmund career. Jamie Gittens and Karim Adeyemi are going to have to be on top of their game. Adeyemi now the starter on the right-hand side after Donyell Malen's departure. It's a poor pass from Felix and Mecha. So Adeyemi has to play more games than Jamie Gittens this year. That's a consequence of failing that player target custom objective last season with Jamie Gittens. Kiwior unable to get the foot in, and Kobel, after Hertha Berlin get the shot away out of the blue, manages to parry up. Not quite away, but Jamie Gittens can bring the ball clear here on the left-hand side. Runs into trouble, so does just go back to Jakub Kiwior. 28 million, a hefty sum to pay for Kiwior, and that's a poor touch by Adeyemi. A hefty price to pay for the left-back. But I think it's going to be worth it going forward. He is still only 25 years old and still has room to grow. Has potential to get into the low 80s. And he is significantly younger than Benzebaini, who I believe is 30 years old now. We're going to have to be careful here. Anton doesn't quite manage to get the block in, forcing Kobel to parry over. And Hertha Berlin are causing us some issues here in the opening 15-20 minutes of the game. We are using a new slider set for this particular game. We had some issues with the CPU presenting enough of a challenge in Season 1. However, between the gameplay refresh update that EA have just dropped and the new slider set, we are facing much more of a challenge, and we have been in recent episodes. The slider set was recorded a couple of days before the gameplay update dropped. However, it does still stand up. There are going to be minor tweaks. There'll be a version 7.1 as Hertha Berlin start to press now. There will be a version 7.1 because the gameplay update has changed a couple of aesthetic elements of the game that we need to address. Guirassy make a decent run. Karim Adeyemi cuts in, gets onto his left foot. Can he finish now? Yes, he can at the near post. That's exactly what we need from Karim Adeyemi. Just use the run of Guirassy as a diversion, as a decoy, to allow his pace to cause separation between him and the Hertha Berlin defenders. Just could not keep up with him. And they did exactly what they needed to do. Shielded him away from the goal. Prevented the shot from the acute angle. And forced it from the narrow angle at the near post. Unfortunately for us, Adeyemi manages to squeeze it in at the near post. Goalkeeper unable to do anything about it. And we do have the lead here at the Olympic Stadium. Not quite out of the blue, but Hertha Berlin starting to get some control in the game. As Kiwior, unfortunately, has picked up a knock. Not exactly what we want to see for our new signing. We do, of course, have a lot more squad depth this year. So we do have Benzebaini at left back, as well as Ryerson, who can fill in at that position if needed. However, having just brought in the former Arsenal left back for 28 million euros, we certainly don't want to be losing him in the first game of the season. Great challenge from Jan Kuto. He's been an excellent addition since joining permanently from Manchester City last year. Schlotterbeck misses the header, but it does fall to Kivior. And that's another loose pass. Thankfully, Garassi gets there. And we'll find the feet of Karim Adeyemi. Again, Hertha Berlin press. They're very organised defensively. And we don't manage to quite slip the ball in behind for Adeyemi. Julian Brandt. Merlin Röhl going to be hot on his tail this year for that number 10 role. So Julian Brandt had a good year last season, to be fair. But he's going to have to play up to expectations again this year if he wants to keep that number 10 role going forward. Adeyemi. Kuto started making that overlapping run but stopped. It was the overlapping run that I wanted, to be fair. Julian Brandt once again turns inside and just spreads it wide to Jakub Kivior. He finds Jamie Gittens, who takes his man on and beats him. And if he can put it back to Garassi, we could well have a second goal here. Garassi does get the shot away. It's saved initially by the Hertha Berlin goalkeeper, but tapped into basically the vacant net by Jan Kuto. I believe it's his first goal that we've scored with him here in the series. And I think, correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, I think it's his first goal for Borussia Dortmund. I'm not aware of him having scored for Dortmund in real life. And I don't remember him popping up with a goal last season. He may have popped up with one, actually, in the quick sim last year. But I'm 99% certain that is his first goal that we have scored with him in a played game, whether a featured game or highlights. And 2-0 up, half an hour into the game, we will drop into the control tactics just to try and dominate possession here over the remaining minutes of the second half. Ensure that we go into the half-time break, as Schlotterbeck cuts it out excellently. Ensure that we go into the half-time break with this 2-0 advantage. And that should make the second half comfortable. Kivior still nursing that injury. And he has given the ball away there, trying to find Julian Brandt. So I think Kivior is going to have to make way for Ryerson before the half-time whistle, which is a real shame. That's a great ball in behind. Kobel at the near post makes the save. Schlotterbeck well positioned to make a block as well. And unfortunately, 32 minutes into the game, Jakub Kivior's debut is over. Ryerson comes on to replace him at left back. A real shame. Had very high hopes for Kivior this season. Of course, we will have to... Gittens, you cannot give it away there. You simply cannot give it away there. It's a great challenge from Ryerson to save the day. And now Gittens is on the deck injured. Really don't want him to be down. We will, of course, have to wait and see regarding the nature of Jakub Kivior's injury. It may not be a serious one, and I hope it's not a serious one. We do very much have a more than adequate replacement in LAMBZY, who's actually the higher overall left back at the moment. And the same goes for Jamie Gittens as well. Have to keep an eye on that over the remaining 10 minutes or so of the half. As Jan Kuto puts the ball out for a Hertha Berlin corner. As we see Kuto's goal once again. It was a tidy finish with his left foot, to be fair. On the volley as the ball bounced up after the initial save. And we just need to be vigilant, wary here at the end of the first half. Again, just try and make it to half-time with this 2-goal lead. Berlin providing not a tough test exactly, but tougher than I anticipated. And they are pretty much matching us man for man. The length of the field, which is a real change from how they started the game. Garassi just get the shot where this has to be a penalty, and it is. The Hertha Berlin defender desperate to prevent Garassi getting the shot away. All he does is bring him down. An ill-timed challenge in a dangerous area. And it will be Garassi to take the penalty, with a chance to make it not only 2 but 3 at the half. And we said we wanted to dominate this game. We said we want to score goals. We've certainly done one of those. I wouldn't exactly say we've dominated the game. Hertha Berlin again providing a bit more of a challenge than I anticipated, but that is an unstoppable penalty. And Garassi grabs a third goal here in the first half. And with 5 minutes to go in the first period, we are looking comfortable to say the least. We are indeed putting Hertha Berlin to the sword. The penalty in front of the travelling Dortmund fans as well. An absolute rocket into the top corner. I was worried for a moment that I'd put a little bit too much power on it. But Nuri Sahin, these are the scenes that he wants to see. Not having the best time at Dortmund in real life. But maybe he should tune into an episode of the series and he can live vicariously through us. Because we are pretty much, you would have to imagine, fulfilling the exact vision that he had for the club when signing on as manager. It did look as though Jamie Gittens is nursing an injury. I'm really not happy about that. We may be 3-0 up, but we've lost our entire left side to injury here in this first half. Again, we have an adequate replacement on the bench. Somebody who will relish the opportunity to step into the first team if Jamie Gittens does have to miss time, and that is Julian Duranville. And I think Gittens is going to make it to half-time, but he certainly won't be back out for the second period, because even if it's not a serious injury, at 3-0 up, there's no point in risking it. We may as well bring him off. Metcher finds Gittens, who finds Ryerson. Brandt's taken up a nice position, but the pass from Ryerson's led him too far up the field. Just needed to be into his feet there rather than a half yard ahead of him. Just allowed the Hertha Berlin defender to step in and steal the ball away. Adeyemi can't quite steal it back. Jan Kuto, however, can. It's an excellent challenge. And there is the half-time whistle. So 3-0 up at half-time. If you're enjoying the game and today's episode, please take a second to like the video. And if you want to see more realistic FC25 content, be sure to subscribe, not just to catch the next episode of this series, but other realistic career modes, realistic rebuilds, slider updates that might be dropping in the future. And if you want to get ahead of the curve and see those kinds of videos before anybody else, consider becoming a 12th man member of the channel. Membership starts at just $1.99 a month and grants you exclusive early access to all new videos, with tier rewards scaling up from there and including the possibility of being featured in my career mode saves. Thank you to everyone who is already supporting the channel through their membership. It is genuinely very much appreciated and helps the channel to run. But now let's head back out for the second half. So just the one change as we come out for the second half, and that is Jamie Gittens off, Julian Duranville on. So we only have one substitution window remaining, and we will be making all three of our remaining substitutions during that window. Won't be making those substitutions for some time though. Probably around the hour mark. Julian Brandt. Hertha Berlin just continue to be awkward to play against, to be fair. Very well organised. Very disciplined in their shape and in their press. And, as we said, very compact as well in the way that they're setting up. But it's not like they're standing off us either. It's not like they're just sitting back anymore and allowing us to play as they were in the first 10 or 15 minutes. They're actually kind of pressing us man for man all over the field at this point, which is making it very awkward to find open passes. And Metcher can't win the ball back. Julian Brandt dropping into a more defensive position as well. Jan Kuto can't win the ball back either. At least not on the first occasion. Stops the cross at the very least. And forces the Berlin player out wide. And will now win the ball back and just lay it into the path of Adeyemi, who can use that pace to carry us up the field. Garassi, look, where are you going? Just where are you going? Runs into my path. Runs directly in front of me. One of the things that was supposed to be addressed with that gameplay refresh update was slightly more intelligent runs from your attacking AI teammates. We certainly didn't see that there. Zabitzer. Kuto finds Adeyemi once more. It's been pretty bright down this right-hand side. Brandt. And if Mecha can step up here, then we should be able to slip it in behind for Julian Duranville, who's offside. That must have been narrow. That must have been tight. As Berlin make their first change of the game. Very, very good ball through from Felix Mecha. Duranville just straying offside. That was another thing mentioned in the pitch notes, to be fair. Those more intelligent attacking runs were supposed to reduce the number of offsides. To be fair, that was, I think, the first offside call we've had. Kuto, good defending again. Anton going to be our primary starting centre-back alongside Schlotterbeck this season. Niklas Serler will get his chance, though. His time at Dortmund really has been... It's poor, Mecha, really poor. Has been marred by injury and inconsistent play. And this probably will be his final season to prove himself here at Dortmund. If he plays well and supplants Anton as Schlotterbeck's partner in crime, then he can certainly stay at the club. However, if he continues to play poorly, we'll probably be moving on from him next summer, potentially even in January. Julian Duranville with the pace now. Ryerson. Duranville just uses the run as a diversion, like Adeyemi did in the first half, and we just waited a tick too long to get the pass away there to Garassi. Oh, and that's such an awful ball from Zabitzer. Such an awful ball. He's trying to thread the needle and find Duranville out on the left-hand side, but got it all wrong. I fancy a fourth goal in this game, so I think we're going to step back up into the slightly more attacking default tactics. We haven't created a clear-cut opportunity in quite some time. And it probably makes sense to be a little more pragmatic. But I said I want to dominate this game. I said I want to score goals. I said I want to kind of set a standard here in the Bundesliga early in Season 2. And I think a fourth goal in this game would do that. Zabitzer once more. Anton. Out to Kuto. Zabitzer needs to be stepping up into that little hole. Julian Brandt thankfully got there and found Zabitzer. Duranville gets to the byline. No help, no support. Eventually, Ryerson joins him. And there is Zabitzer once more. Potentially a shot from range here. I've taken too many touches. Should have got the shot away earlier. The space opened up there. And I took one too many touches and just allowed the Berlin defender to get back in the play. I think we'll probably make those 3 other changes next time we get the opportunity. Eric Martel probably going to come on to make his debut. Merlin Rell to come on as well. And I think we'll probably bring Yusufa Moukoko on to play his first minutes of the season as well. Back in a Dortmund shirt after having spent the season out on loan at Nice last year. It's been a disappointing second half. Obviously an excellent first half, and we haven't had to push too hard for another goal here in the second period, but I would have liked to impose ourselves on the game a little more in this second half. Ryerson beaten. Thankfully, Hertha Berlin don't have the bodies forward. Ryerson beaten again. Third time lucky, I guess, for Ryerson. And it's a good challenge from Anton. And Ryerson hooks clear. Duranville nods it down, kind of in the direction of Julian Brandt. And this is sloppy. This is really sloppy. This has been a disappointing second period. Really disappointing. Ryerson beaten again. Ryerson is having a torrid time out on the left-hand side. But what a tackle from Schlotterbeck. Schlotterbeck is outrageous. He is outrageous. Again, I'm not sure how I didn't give him Manager's Player of the Season last year. And can we string 2 passes together, please? Jesus! Anton. Just about finds Zabitzer. Even that pass was inaccurate. Adeyemi drives. Beats his man for pace and it goes out of play. So some fresh legs and hopefully some fresh ideas as Merlin Rell, Eric Martel and Yusufa Moukoko all come on. for these final 15 minutes or so of the game. Julian de Ranville tracking back, cuts that out well. And we are actually going to push for a 4th goal in this game. We are risking conceding to Hertha Berlin in the final 15 minutes or so. But to be fair, I'm willing to take the risk at 3-0 up. Again, it probably makes sense to play a little more pragmatically, but we're looking to build confidence, build momentum here in the early portion of the season. Martel finds de Ranville. Little step over, cuts inside, finds Moukoko. He finds de Ranville once more. Can he pull it back? Yes, he can, in towards Moukoko. Couldn't quite find his teammate. I'm really excited about Moukoko this season. I think he's a really exciting player. Obviously a record-breaking teenager. A prodigy, a phenom, a wunderkind, whatever you want to call him. Very high hopes for him. Obviously hasn't worked out for him in the first team at Dortmund just yet. But he's still only maybe even 19 years of age. Certainly no older than 20 in real life. I believe he is 20 here in game. It's another really poor pass. Absolutely horrific pass. So I think hope should be high and expectations should be high for Moukoko heading into the season. As Hertha Berlin going to make their final 2 changes. So Berlin to take the corner. Punch clear by Kobel. Schlotterbeck in the area as well, trying to head clear. And it's a strike from range. Harmlessly wide. And Kobel will just lay the ball into the feet of Anton. Jan Kuto. Berlin still pressing high with 4 or 5 players. And honestly, in the second half, we haven't been able to find a yellow shirt at any point. Simple passes. Just going straight to Hertha Berlin players. Just for absolutely no reason. Merlin Röhrl. Adeyemi just about gets there. Wasn't sure he was going to. And again, he has the pace. And again, he finds Moukoko. Trying to find Julian de Ranville at the back post. But it's going to be a corner, which Zabitzer will take. Into a dangerous area. Röhrl turns the ball kind of towards goal. One thing they didn't address in the gameplay refresh was headers. Headers have just been absolutely broken for most of the year. Either the ball goes directly into the ground or you get almost no solid contact. Headers were fine at the beginning of the year. And if anything, potentially a little too strong. And they must have just... They must have just completely nerfed them at some point, because you simply can't get solid contact on a header from a corner or a cross anymore. It's impossible. I'm not going to say anything about that previous pass either, because that was just absolutely ludicrous. Absolutely ludicrous. Julian de Ranville. Merlin Röhrl. Where are you going? Adeyemi, where are you going? I thought these runs were supposed to have been improved. Adeyemi sprints at me back towards his own goal. What was that run? What was that run? That was absolutely ludicrous. The first half in this game, fantastic, incredible. 3-0 up at half-time. The second half was preposterous. Just an absolutely torrid performance from front to back, from top to bottom. We couldn't string 2 passes together. Thankfully, we were only playing Hertha Berlin, because if we were playing any kind of a competent team, we would have given away that 3-0 lead in that second half. That performance was dire. Thankfully, it is just a spate of bruised elbows this time around as well. No broken toes for Jakub Kivior or Jamie Gittens. They'll just be out for 5 days. That does bring us to our second game of the episode, where despite only picking up a knock, Jakub Kivior has made way for Benzebaini. Jamie Gittens retains his place, though. Niklas Söller comes in to the back line, and Max Bayer starts on the right-hand side in place of Adeyemi. And in our home opener, we only pick up a point. Disappointing. We obviously carried forward that poor performance in the second half against Berlin, here against Bochum. Bayer does get on the score sheet, though, twice. once in the first half, once in the second, to secure a point. And at the end of episode 1, we've picked up exactly where we left off in season 1 as well, in second place in the Bundesliga, and having sold 3 first-team caliber players and brought in a bunch of depth to replace them. I don't think we need to do any additional business here at the transfer deadline day. However, with Bayer Leverkusen absolutely loading up with talent, perhaps that's the wrong approach. They have splashed 143 million euros on Victor Osimhen, as well as adding Eder Militao from Real Madrid for close to another 100 million. Now, they did lose Victor Boniface, so you might say that's a 1-for-1, maybe a marginal improvement from Boniface to Osimhen, but they've also added Diogo Jota. Absolute mad lads over at Leverkusen. They're not the only ones who have added to their squad, though. RB Leipzig have also brought in Dominik Szoboszlai. Omar Marmoush has been lost to Newcastle United, however. RB Leipzig also bring in Miguel Gutierrez, as well as Sven Botman. So our rivals around the Bundesliga very much loading up on talent. But I have faith in our squad, and we do have 60 million euros in the bank for January if we need it. Which means the calendar will tick over into September, where we will have 5 games to get to in episode 2. We'll be taking on Augsburg, Mönchengladbach, and Werder Bremen in the Bundesliga. And we'll be getting to our first Champions League games of Season 2 as well, against FC Twente and against Real Sociedad. So a decent enough, if somewhat frustrating start to Season 2. However, a lot of promising signs. We have a lot of talent in the squad. We have a lot of youth in the squad. Importantly, we have a lot of depth in the squad. And I think we're going to need that depth this season if we're going to challenge for the Bundesliga, for the DFB Pokal, for the Champions League. So we'll look to get those new signings bedded in, those young players bled through, and our season truly kick-started in the next episode. I hope to see you there. Take it easy.